Well, a number of high-profile Australians have come together to condemn the trial of Australian journalist Cheng Lei. She faces a Beijing court this morning, 19 months after she was secretly arrested. Sky News Washington correspondent and former colleague of Cheng Lei, Annelise Nielsen, joins us live now. Annelise, what can you tell us about her trial?
Well, we understand it is underway in Beijing, and the other understanding is that, as expected, consular officials haven't been allowed to access it to observe what's happening. Now, that isn't dissimilar to similar cases that have happened with foreigners detained in China, but it's certainly a disappointment for those of us who have been watching Cheng Lei's case with horror, because this has gone on for 19 months that she's been held by Chinese authorities. It took them months to allow her access to a lawyer, and she's only now allowed access to consular officials once a month via video link, and it's supervised by prison guards. She's strapped to a chair with a wooden board. During that, she's not even allowed to stand up. And so this is where frustration has been building among supporters. Journalists from around the world have signed a joint statement, and journalism bodies again have reiterated a new statement today saying that they do condemn this whole process. What's been really interesting, though, is we've had one interview with the Australian by Warwick Smith. Now, he is a very well-known business figure in Chinese circles, and so to have someone of his stature say that not only is he going to call this out, but also that he's made this representation to the Chinese new ambassador to Australia is quite significant. In this article on The Australian, he said, "Denying her the opportunity to be with family, this is my view, not a justice system you can admire. It's a justice system that should be criticised, and criticised strongly at every available opportunity. It's just wrong." And that's the voice of business speaking very clearly. Dan Tehan, the Trade Minister, is in Washington, D.C. He was asked by journalists today what he thought of Warwick Smith's comments.
I do echo his concerns, and the Australian government echoes his concerns, and Warwick has shown real leadership from the business community in expressing those concerns.
The other interesting aspect today has been a joint statement between Peter Grest, well-known Australian journalist who was detained in Egypt, and also Kylie Moore-Gilbert, who is a well-known academic who was detained in Iran. Both of them have come out today and say that they support media coverage and public advocacy on behalf of Cheng Lei, that the quiet diplomacy does work to an extent, but public pressure, especially in cases like this, have helped them, and they hope will help Cheng Lei. Kylie Moore-Gilbert spoke to Pete Stefanovic earlier this morning and said that she does have grave fears for Cheng Lei.
I really feel for her today going on trial in a regime like China. I think it'll be just as much of a kangaroo court and just as much of a sham as my own trial was.
Laura, it's really hard to tell what's going to happen next. We have an indication from the charge of illegally supplying state secrets overseas that the sentencing could be between 5 to 10 years. Depending on the severity, though, it could be much less than that or much more. It's a really broad charge. We also have no indication that there'll be any sentence handed down today. As the Chinese system works, it's a 99% conviction rate, so it's all but certain that this has been decided for Cheng Lei in some sense. What we're waiting to see is when we might get a sentence. Could be weeks, could be months. They hold all the cards, unfortunately.